Hi everyone, welcome to Homerino Collectibles, and today we're going to be taking a look at the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series Catwoman. So, as part of the style from the TV series, things like wrists and ankles and whatnot are quite small with these figures. Now, Catwoman is part of Wave 1, and Wave 1, basically, they released that, and then people were having a lot of breaks with their figures, with this figure and with the Batman figure and whatnot. And basically, what they did was they just held back on releasing Wave 2 for a little while. They went back, they looked at changing their plastic, because it's not just these figures, it was a lot of figures from DC Collectibles. And basically, what happens with figures, no matter what plastic you use, once you've applied heat to it, basically, they become brittle, if it's a hard plastic, I mean. Even the polycarbonate that they were using. Polycarbonate in a sheet form is bulletproof. It's what bulletproof, riot shields and windows and whatnot are made out of. But once you apply heat, like I used to do in my old job as a plastic fabricator, once you bend it or fold it or whatever you do to it, it loses that strength. It just becomes brittle, and it's very, very easy to break. So that's why a lot of these figures were breaking at the wrists and at the ankles. So what they've done also, because of these little, seeing the joints there, what they did basically is just, they went back, they've thickened some of the joints, they've changed the plastic that they use, which should be a bit more, stress resistant. It should be a little bit more pliable in the way that it will take more stress to break it, so it won't be as brittle. And also, basically, just making some of those joints look a bit better, not having those two little pins showing there and whatnot. And that is from Wave 2 onwards. Whether or not they will go back and revise Wave 1 to be better or not, I don't know. But that basically means for the meantime that if you are buying one of these Wave 1 figures, Catwoman or Batman, then basically just be careful, because they may still have some of those problems. And obviously I can't show you the rest of the wave, because on the back of the packaging it is just a picture of Batman, like so. But basically that's all I have to say about this figure, really, that you need to know before I get into the review. So let's get this thing open and take a closer look. So first out of the box we actually have, essentially what I said I couldn't show you earlier on the back of the box. So we have some tick boxes here, and you can see if it has red on the episode name, then that means it's from the animated series, and if it's got blue, it's from Batman the New Adventures. So very, very nice. You can see the first three waves right there. Wave 2 has just rolled out. And I believe you can also get that Robin right now too. So there's some figures here that you can and some that you cannot get. But for the most part, yeah, just be careful of this Wave 1 with like wrists and whatnot and breakages and whatnot. But for the most part, you should be okay. And here is Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, out of the packaging, and this is a very, very nice action figure. Barring a lot of people's breaking at the wrist, like I keep mentioning, it is a very, very nice figure indeed. So to first go over the accessories that she comes with, you get the turnaround base right here. So you get the turnaround on the bottom, i.e. pictures of her from all sides. You also get the logo of which series she is from and her name right there. Then you get this nice little stand attached to it, which I would prefer it if all of this wasn't there. And there are actually different styles of stands with other figures which are better than this. I mean, this isn't really good for if you have lots of figures on a shelf or something, because that's just going to take up too much room. But basically this thing can slide up and down on this stick. It can also move around, and these can actually move forward and back. Pretty stiff, but there you go. You can move forward and back, and then these obviously can hold the figure at the waist or whatever. So if you're having trouble standing some of these figures, just go ahead and put them on this turnaround and close that around their waist, and they should be fine. And you might even be able to bring this up and even hover the figure like a nice stand. But it's not anything like an SH Figure Arts type stand, or it's not really meant as a flight stand. But it's pretty good in its own right for the price that you're paying for the figure, and you get all these accessories. So carrying on, we also have some jewelry right here. We have a nice necklace. Get some focus up on that. So it'll fit around the cat's neck, which is another accessory I'll get to in a second. If you took Catwoman's head off, I'm sure that this would fit around her neck, or you could just put it in her hand. And speaking of hands, we have this style gripping one, which I think is meant for these binoculars, but it doesn't hold them too well. However, this gripping hand right here in fact holds them a little bit better because the fingers and the thumb come a bit closer, and this is actually much better at holding the whip right there. And then we also have the open hand right here, which you could use for, petting the cat or whatever. You can't really get a hand onto her hip, so you can't really use it for that kind of a pose. But yeah, so they are the 3 sets of hands that you get. And then you also get the binoculars and the jewelry, and like I said, there's 3 sets, so you get 2 of each of those hands. Going over the cat real quick, let's get some close-up focus on this little fella. Basically, the head is on a ball joint, so obviously can look left and right, can look down as well as up that far, so that's pretty cool. All of the legs are fully articulated to go forward and back, so very nice. You can get some nice running and pouncing poses and whatnot. And then also the tail swivels around, so you can have the tail in a few different positions there, so it's a nice little accessory too. And then the next accessory here is the whip. So you get a tiny little bit of detail on the handle right there. It is a soft rubbery plastic. In the package, it's packaged a lot like this. And obviously, as you can see, if you just wrap it around something or even use the tassels that are at the end of the whip, as you can see, it kind of opens up right there at the end. You could just make it so that it stays in certain positions. You could wrap it around other characters and whatnot. It's got a good length to it and whatnot, and it just looks really, really cool. You could wrap it around Catwoman, and you can really pose it around, which looks fantastic. Although it doesn't have a wire to it, it is a very nice whip indeed. So looking at the figure itself now, pretty damn good detail. Now this particular figure itself has a good paint app, but I have seen others where the eyes aren't painted quite as good as mine. As you can see, the mouth is painted absolutely perfectly. You've got the small amount of teeth showing right there. The black, the edge of that black on the mask is done pretty well. I've seen some that are quite sloppy in the fade, between the colours there. I've also seen some of these belts. I think it was Anthony Custom's video where his belt was quite bad too. But mine is, as you can see, perfect pretty much except for this little spot right there. So yeah, that's one thing to look for really in package. Just make sure that the belt is painted nice and that you've got a good face paint, because that's pretty much all of the paint that is on this figure. There's no shading or anything, which I'm fine with because it fits with the style from the show and everything. So yeah, overall a very, very good looking figure with not much that can go wrong in terms of paint detail. So in terms of articulation, the head is on a double ball peg, so she can look left and right, and then up a good amount and down a good amount. You can also go side to side. So yeah, you've got really, really good movement there on that double ball peg. The shoulders come out this far and go all the way around. They can be quite tight though, so just be careful and make sure that you move it right at that joint to make sure that you don't break it. The elbows don't quite go 90 degrees, but it's not the end of the world. They also actually go back almost as far, which is kind of strange. At the wrists here, they rotate and they also go in and out. They also rotate at the elbow, by the way. No waist articulation on the majority of the figures from this line, so that does kind of suck. That is something that I really wish that we would have. But to be honest, as someone that was going to start collecting just the figures that had, like the original ones for these shows, that just had the 5 points of articulation before they actually announced this line, I'm really happy with what we're getting, but they could have been done a little bit better. The legs go all the way forward, and they are ratcheted to move all the way out for nice splits, and it doesn't look too bad right there, so that's pretty good. Just get that down, just being careful with it. The knees go just about 90 degrees. We have a rotation at the boot down here. The feet do look a little bit strange on these ankle joints when you do move them a lot, but you're not really going to be able to get them into any kind of positions where you're going to have to move them that much, so it doesn't matter too much. So yeah, basically they go up and down, and then they have an ankle pivot that goes all the way side to side, so very nice articulation. So Catwoman stands 6 inches tall, and here she is next to something that I know a lot of people watching this will have if you're into DC and you collect toys. This is a DC Universe Classics Batman, which stands about 6.5 inches tall, and a little bit taller if you count the ears. So yeah, basically, as you can see, she will actually fit in very good scale with DC Universe Classics figures. a lot of the figures from this line will too, so obviously the actual style of the figures do vary, but this Catwoman does actually look very, very good as a comic book Catwoman too. So if you can't find an older DC Universe Classics one and you want this one with all the accessories and whatnot, I would say that it is a pretty good choice. So here is Catwoman with all of the accessories on screen that she comes with. So I think this is absolutely fantastic. The accessories for these figures are episode specific, and I think that they've done really, really well with this figure. To be honest, as long as you get some form of jewellery and a whip for Catwoman, I'm really, really happy. The fact that these figures all come with that same style turnaround base as well is pretty cool, and the interchangeable hands. So, getting the cat and the binoculars is just something extra, and I really, really do like them. Getting this figure to stand with, just how small those feet are can be a little bit tricky at times. It's actually much easier to pose her in a wider stance like I had her in at the start than standing straight up. They don't have peg holes in the bottom of the feet just because of how small the feet are, so that's why we get these bases, and I think it's fantastic that they did include them. And like I said, it's an absolutely fantastic figure to go ahead and use in any kind of collection, whether it's DC Universe Classics, I think it really fits in well, or, with other figures from the animated series and from the new adventures. I really, really do 100% recommend this figure. Just be careful with some of those joints. So thanks for watching, guys. I will actually get a lot of the animated series figures. The new adventures, I will get some, such as Robin and Nightwing and possibly that Batman and Batgirl and some other figures, but I'm not going to go too crazy on those. I'm going to focus mainly on the animated series. If you want to check out pictures of upcoming reviews and other things as part of my collection, then go ahead and check out my Instagram and Twitter. It's Homerino123 for both, and links are in the description below. And if you want to check out more DC Collectibles reviews, go ahead and subscribe. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you